Welcome back, listeners, to Hindsight is Horrifying, your most favoriteest / hatest of all podcasts. This week, we are actually discussing the movie from 1980, Caddyshack.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, this was Jason's pick, so he's going to tell us a little bit about it. So, Jason, let's hear about Caddyshack.
Caddyshack it's a great movie on its own merits, but I think it's also a great movie because it sort of offers a preview of so many things to come. This is, of course, directed by Harold Ramis. It was the first movie directed by Harold Ramis,
a.k.a. Egon.
Egon Spengler. Yeah,
from Ghostbusters. Yep.
Yeah.
At this point, futuristic Ghostbusters.
Yeah. This was the movie that was sort of Harold Ramis's chance. If he did good on this, he was going to have a career. If he didn't do good on this, it was going to be sayonara. That's all there is. And it ended up grossing what was, in 1980, the astronomical sum of $40 million.
Whoa.
Yeah. I think there are Revlon commercials nowadays that make more than $40 million.
Well, the actresses that
that
act in those commercials make more than $40,000, I would imagine.
But this is a movie that it has an ensemble of of actors, and actually actors that you don't typically see all in the same place. I mean, it's a very strange mix. You've got, on the one hand, you've got Chevy Chase. You've also got Bill Murray, who, apart from Saturday Night Live, I don't think we're ever in anything together.
I don't know about that, but Bill Murray, his brother, was actually part of the production of this movie. And
he was the boss of the Caddyshack. That was Brian Doyle Murray.
Yes,
yeah.
And we can get around to that because
Yeah.
I've got a couple of different mental floss facts to share. But this was, like you said, Harold Ramis got to direct his first project, but he'd been a screenwriter before, particularly on Animal House.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the pitch that Reitman did for Ghostbusters, where he was like, it's ghost janitors.
Yeah.
And that was it. So, Brian Doyle Murray, who, was a big part of this movie, the concept of the movie was Animal House on a golf course.
Yeah. And look, back then you could probably pitch that to a studio and they would go, okay.
Well, especially back in the 80s, it's kind of like our whole Night Court episode where it's like, there's an old baseball player who's running a bar, and that's Cheers. And you run with it from there. Yeah, that was a lot of 80s concepts.
This movie, if you think about it, could just as easily have been a pilot for a TV show.
Oh, 100%.
There could have been an 80s sitcom called Caddyshack.
Yeah, I would have watched it.
And actually, you even conceivably could have had people like Bill Murray or Chevy Chase in that series. But you've also got Rodney Dangerfield. And I did not realize until I was doing research for this show, I didn't realize that this was the movie
that made Rodney Dangerfield in Hollywood.
Yeah. I always thought Rodney Dangerfield had just been established as an actor for years, but he wasn't. He was a stand-up comedian.
Well, he was. It basically helped him earn Hollywood's respect, according to the Mental Floss article that I found, because, like you said, he was sort of an institution in and of himself throughout most of our lives. Despite how old you are, Jason.
Oh, yeah. No. Rodney Dangerfield was, he's Back to School, and I think they made,
the original Billy Madison, you mean?
Except
with college.
Yeah.
But that was the thing, is that Rodney Dangerfield apparently had a really tough time on set, and he felt like he wasn't funny because no one was laughing at his jokes. Scott Columby, who plays Tony D'Annunzio, the John Travolta of the golf course, if you will.
Yeah.
He basically had to reassure Rodney Dangerfield that
whose sexual orientation is not in any way in doubt.
No, he hit on all the girls so aggressively. But yeah, Tony D'Annunzio basically had to reassure Rodney Dangerfield, no, you're funny, but audible laughs will mess up a take in a movie. So, people can't be laughing at you. And that was kind of the setting anyway, because we're at Bushwood Country Club, where obviously Rodney Dangerfield is the very rude and abrupt character.
And you have to think, for somebody whose career has been in stand-up comedy, I mean, he was, I think the the reason that he was on everybody's radar was because of his appearances on Johnny Carson, because he was a regular on the Tonight Show when he was just doing stand-up. And it's got to just be the weirdest thing in the world for someone who is trained to judge how well you're doing based on other people laughing.
Yeah,
if they don't laugh at you, it means you're doing bad.
Exactly, you're bombing.
Yeah.
Stand-up comedians have to base their whole career on other people's reactions, and on a movie set. And I know you and I have both had experiences on movie sets. The silence is almost deafening.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so awkward because even listeners, you may not know this, but during dancing scenes at clubs and whatnot, there's not really actual music pumping, and it's not really a club scene. It's usually a metronome of some sort ticking away the beat so that
or a flashing light. Sometimes they'll do that. They'll just have a light flashing somewhere.
So that at least all the actors, both background and main, can actually keep time with each other so that, somebody's not waltzing in the background at Night at the Roxbury or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's so awkward, the silence that they need on set.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that's where quiet on the set really comes from.
Well, and, for the rest of the cast, obviously you've got a lot of Saturday Night Live talent here with Bill Murray and Chevy Chase. And Chevy Chase, Bill Murray's funny in this. He is funny.
Oh, he's, in my opinion, the most memorable character, along with the gopher.
Definitely the most memorable. Oh, the gopher's the best character.
For sure.
I want that. I want a puppet of the. I would pay serious money to have that.
What's really funny about the gopher is that he was an afterthought because they had to get a through plot for the entire movie because it was looking kind of piecemeal when they first put it together. Yeah. The gopher actually didn't come in until after they had shot everything, and then they had to sort of include him.
See, and that makes sense, and again, that goes back to what I was saying about why the movie's so interesting, because you've got Harold Ramis, he's directing for the first time. This is sort of like, oh yeah, look what Harold Ramis is going to be capable of in the future. And it was only, I think, 1 or 2 years later that he wrote Stripes, which was that stands up as just a classic of that era of comedy. Great Bill Murray movie. And then, of course, in 1984, you've got Ghostbusters, which he didn't write. No, he did write.
I think he co-wrote with Dan
Aykroyd. Yeah. Because
co-wrote
Ivan
and
Reitman.
starred it.
Ivan Reitman directed it.
Reitman was the director. Yeah. But we're at this classic moment right now where Bill Murray is basically telling one of the caddies on the green that he used to caddy for the Dalai Lama.
The Dalai Lama.
The Dalai Lama. And what's really great about this is that Bill Murray inexplicably has a really, really sharp hay fork in his hands, and he's just sort of poking this poor caddy with it. Like, I used to caddy for the Dalai Lama, and this is what happened back in...
He was going to stiff me.
Yeah, he was going to stiff me. And it just... And the caddy's just sitting there, and
that's real, man. That emotion on that caddy's face is 100% real.
Because, Bill Murray could literally put that hay fork through his neck at any moment, and that would be it. But Bill Murray, his brother was such a big influencer of this movie, and it turns out that that's because Bill Murray and his brother actually used to work at a golf course when they were younger.
I think Harold Ramis did too. I think a lot of them used to be caddies.
Well, Harold Ramis actually confirmed that he had never played golf in his life, so he may have worked as a caddy, but he had never played golf at all before this movie, or even after this movie came along. But the Murray brothers, who worked on this movie together, Bill and his brother, and that was where the sort of Catholic family came into play too, because they had...
the Murrays were a big family.
Yeah, they had tons of siblings. And
well, there's another brother in this movie, isn't there? But he's got like a bit part, or like in one of the... I think one of the younger brothers is like one of the other caddies.
I'd have to look it up in this article that I've got to see if I've got anything, but... We've sort of bypassed Chevy Chase so far, and
which is a shame because he's my favorite part of the whole movie.
No.
Just his whole
shtick is great.
It's so pure Chevy Chase. Whenever she later on in the movie when oh God, I can't remember her name.
The granddaughter or niece.
The niece. Is it Lacey?
The judge.
Lacey Underthings?
Oh, I don't know, but
Lacey
the
Underall.
judge's niece, the blonde girl.
Yeah. Who had some real issues with this movie. Surprise.
Shocking. She wasn't portrayed as
she was not comfortable with the nudity. She wasn't comfortable with I think Harold Ramis ended up even telling a story that someone at the studio basically told her, because Harold Ramis, when she said she didn't want to do the nude scenes, I think Harold Ramis said that's fine. You know, like that's okay. We don't need them. We don't have to do it. But apparently the studio,
because they're pretty gratuitous, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, and yeah, you know, it's we want to get an R rating. You know, we want to get.
If you're going to be Animal House on a golf course, I guess there's
you
nudity.
have to do stuff like that.
God forbid the men get nude, but the girls sure as hell
Chevy
have
Chase
to.
Slides down the slide nude.
Oh my God, he does.
Yeah, he slides down it nude. Yeah.
Oh, man. Maybe I just blocked that out of self-preservation. Not that he wasn't a good-looking man back in his day. It's just I know Chevy Chase as he is now. So.
Well, but apparently the story is that the studio said, tell her if she doesn't do the nude scene, she'll never work in Hollywood again.
Which I don't think she ever did after this movie anyway.
She
did. Did she?
She did. She's, I think, done... I think she did more TV work. I know, like, the person who plays Danny... the star.
Yeah.
The
star caddy of the movie.
Yeah, the star caddy. He has done quite a bit of TV work.
Well, and let's go back to that for a second, because the whole premise of the movie is not necessarily Animal House on a golf course. It is an actual story of Danny growing up in a supremely Catholic family with about 40 children from what you can see from the opening scenes.
Yeah.
When Kenny Loggins is singing I'm All Right. So... there's that, but basically there are so many kids in his family that he's got to support himself and get himself through college. So it comes down to him getting
$30 at a time. You
yeah.
know.
Oh yeah. He earned $30 in a day at caddying, and that would get you literally nowhere today.
Yeah,
but back in 1980, that was a lot of money.
Because he said tuition was $8,000 a year,
something like that.
Which I was thinking about that, like that.
That was a considerable amount back then.
Really expensive for 1980.
Yeah, because I went to Kennesaw State, and it did not cost that much per semester.
Yeah, it didn't cost anywhere near that much for me. I went to a state school too.
Mm-hmm.
And
Go Owls! Hooty hoo!
Yeah, no, it wasn't nearly that much. But it's a movie. Who cares?
Who knows?
That's there just to move the plot along, and they don't even do an effective job of explaining it in the end.
Not explaining the tuition, but Danny does sort of get his goal. He goes out to get the caddy. Well, no, that's right, because he sort of messes it up by sleeping with the judge's niece.
Well, no, he gets the scholarship even after he sleeps with her. He screws it up by helping Ty and or Chevy Chase and Rodney Dangerfield, because because they pick him as their ringer. And the judge is like, I guess you really don't want that scholarship, do you? I guess I don't. But then, Ty and Rodney Dangerfield have all this money, and it's only going to cost
this much to send Danny to college.
$32,000. It's an $80,000 match. I think they could probably go ahead and help the kid out.
Yeah, that's true. So Danny does get to go to college at the end of the movie, as far as we're aware. Whether he does it, we'll see. But this movie, we're at a really good racist moment right here.
Yeah, this is really sticking it to the country club set.
Oh, big time. Because the judge is sitting there and asking for a polish on his shoes. And what does he say, Jason, where he pisses off the porterhouse?
The porterhouse?
Porter, I think that's what he calls him, Porter something.
The porterhouse is a steak.
He calls him Porter something. I don't know.
Oh.
Well, no, he says his name is Porterhouse.
He says a Jew, a Catholic, and a colored.
Okay, yeah,
because
he gets the porter person to shine his shoes, and then he starts telling a racist joke, and so Porter starts immediately destroying the judge's golf shoes on the grinder, like mother.
Yeah, which really doesn't make any sense because it's probably a great way just to get fired.
Yeah, no matter how racist the judge is
whatever.
being.
They were all so hammered when they were making this movie.
I would have to assume so.
Oh, they were. And that was one of the big problems with production on this movie, was that the call times every day slipped further and further back because every single night the cast they were all staying at like I think it was a motel.
Oh no.
And every night they said it was basically like Animal House every night and then Caddyshack in the daytime.
Oh god, so Chevy Chase, Rodney Dangerfield, Bill Murray are all getting hammered together.
All of them.
That's fantastic.
Except for the judge, because he apparently got really pissed off by it.
I can sort of see that. That's in keeping with his character.
Yeah, I mean, well, he's a veteran actor. He was in. I mean, he's
the B. Arthur of this troupe.
Yeah, I mean,
he doesn't have time for this nonsense.
Yeah, he's what, Ted Baxter from Mary Tyler Moore. I mean, the guy's he has his acting chops, and he probably thought, look, it's a job. Can we just make this?
Sure.
But this was the heyday. This was when the Saturday Night Live crowd
was really starting to make movies.
Oh yeah, those guys were kings of the world.
Yeah. And, back when Saturday Night Live was actually funny.
Yeah, a long time ago.
A very long time ago.
And that really kind of lasted about another 4 years. It was really when John Belushi died that all that stuff.
Well, and I think Adam Sandler sort of rode the tailcoat of it because he did something similar himself, except he had to make his own production company. Like, Hollywood wasn't really working with him because he's got his own production outfit going on.
Happy Madison.
Yeah, Happy Madison Productions, I think it's called.
Yeah. And he's in that. Adam Sandler was in that last phase when Saturday Night Live was still funny.
That and when the Saturday Night Livers were going on to make films afterward.
Yeah.
Whereas, you have Jimmy Fallon who inexplicably laughs at his own jokes while looking at the camera, and now he's one of a late night talk show.
God, he's horrible.
Kingdom.
He's so horrible. As somebody who grew up on Johnny Carson,
the disdain on your face right now is pretty classic.
It's like I just think of the ghost of Johnny Carson and Ed McMahon and David Letterman, but he's not dead. But
he's no longer hosting his own.
He's not hosting
late
his own
night show.
Even Jay Leno.
But he's got his own Netflix.
That's true, he does.
Letterman does, not Leno.
But Leno, even Leno, he was good. He was Jay Leno. I saw the Tonight Show in California like years and years ago, and Jay Leno doing a little bit of stand up just to the audience was like the funniest thing I ever heard.
Yeah,
the guy was talented.
Well, I would say honestly that the night show host that we've got going on right now, one of the strongest is actually Colbert. He's kind of holding it down, whether you agree with his politics or not. His show is still
Colbert. I used to think he was funny, and then I just feel like it's the same thing now. It's like I don't feel like we're getting any. It's like okay, it's more Stephen Colbert.
Well, they've got, and that's the thing is that the old school late night show host, that's what they were doing.
Exactly.
That's all they were doing.
Yeah.
Their whole efforts went into it. And now I do say Colbert is probably the best of what we've got available at the moment, but that's not the highest bar in the world because they're all doing different things. Hell, Colbert was on Rick and Morty. He's doing voiceover work. He was on The Office. He's got other stuff going on, and so does Jimmy Fallon. So does Jimmy Kimmel. Like they've all got other stuff going on.
Well, and the times have moved on too, where the whole idea of a late night show isn't. I mean, Johnny Carson was the king. He was. He used to joke that if NBC paid him any more money, he'd have a problem because if his head ever swole, he wouldn't be able to put his crown on. He knew
was
it.
He getting his sandwiches delivered like Bill Cosby?
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah, no, but getting back to the movie though, it is a glimpse back into that era of this. When you were watching the greats on Saturday Night Live and also Second City TV, which nobody remembers,
including me, listeners.
SCTV was the Canadian Saturday Night Live.
Oh God!
And no, Rick Moranis. John Candy.
I'm not saying
Joe
good
Flaherty.
people didn't come from it.
It listeners, go on YouTube because they've got to have SCTV episodes on YouTube. It's got to be there. Go on YouTube, get a little wasted, and watch yourself some SCTV, and you're gonna see where all of these movies came from. The idea of Bill Murray hunting a gopher on a golf course with plastic explosives. It just makes total sense in that universe.
Oh, it's fantastic. But Bill Murray's whole thing, and that, going back to this, because this is a movie I've been familiar with.
Sorry. Not obligatory, the completely random she doesn't have a bra on scene.
Oh, is that the problem with this? Not the nudity. And then Bill Murray carrying a huge hose between his legs to flush out the gopher with water.
My favorite part is whenever Bill Murray's cleaning the golf balls in the beginning.
Oh, that's the very beginning. He's literally cleaning his balls to the sight of 60-year-old women.
He's got a big thing for the 60-year-olds.
Yeah, he's got a thing for the Mrs. Robinsons, as it were. But considering the gopher, because we're at a point now, Bill Murray's in his first ploy of getting rid of the gopher. He shoves a huge hose into one of the gopher holes that he's carrying between his thighs in a very obvious dirty joke.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm not going to explain it to you. You're old enough to know. But Bill Murray's trying to flush out the gopher literally with water, and he gets bitten. But the thing is, he's perving out over old women on the golf course, and he just... his whole backstory with the gopher, it becomes a personal vendetta.
Yeah.
Where he's calling the gopher a varmint the entire time. And at one point, he's loading up a serious gun that he tapes. Tapes a flashlight to his gun. And he's talking about like Varmint Kong. He's like,
no, that's not what he says.
He says Varmint Kong.
No, he says Poontang.
He says that too, but he also it's Varmint Kong, like Vietnam.
Oh yeah.
He's like,
that's
it's Varmint
right,
Kong,
that's
and
right.
he's just going off, and he's got this huge powerhouse rifle with a flashlight taped to it, and he's like, "It's all right, I'm gonna go get that gopher," and he's just so serious about
this
it.
Is the part when he's like, "I smell Varmint Poontang."
Yes,
he
says
good
that
varmint
too.
Poontang is dead. Varmint Poontang.
Oh God! But what's remarkable about this is
I thought it was a boy.
Oh God.
Because isn't there a girl gopher in the second one? No one ever watched the second one.
I actually forgot until you said that there's a second.
There is a Caddyshack too.
Oh God, that's terrible.
Everyone hates it. Chevy Chase is in it though.
I believe it.
Yeah, but he's the only one who was in it.
Okay, because this is what Bill Murray says while he's taping a flashlight to his rifle. Hashtag Varmint Kong, because he's saying superior firepower, superior intelligence, and that's all she wrote. Licensed to kill gopher by the government of the United Nations. So he's gone full legit insane. And honestly, this is a movie that I knew my dad liked when I was growing up. And I don't know that I was ever actually allowed to watch this movie because it's pretty dirty.
See, I know that I watched this movie as a kid.
I've seen it in flashes.
It had to have been like a TV edited version.
It must have been without all the nudity and without.
Yeah, if you take the nudity out and a couple of lines,
it's not that terrible.
It's not that terrible.
But yeah, it does have moments, and that I specifically remember through my childhood. I remember the gopher.
Oh yeah,
I don't remember anything else about this movie. I had to rewatch it, and I was watching it with Josh, and I was like, "Holy hell, this movie is filthy."
Yeah,
but he was like, "Well, maybe." He was like, I don't know. Maybe you just don't remember the dirty stuff. And I said, that has to be it. But
I suppose.
But the biggest thing is that I didn't remember this as a kid. But when rewatching the movie, I was like, God, that gopher sounds like a dolphin.
Yeah, it's so obviously a dolphin.
No, but there's a reason for that. You've actually heard the gopher before because the gopher noises were actually reused from Flipper.
Oh, so it was cheap.
Yeah, it was cheap, and it was definitely a dolphin doing the...
I have to respect that.
No, it was
I have to respect that.
They call him Gopher, like whatever the Flipper song was. Yeah. But yeah, I was like, why does this gopher sound like a porpoise?
And you're right, because like I've seen this movie so many times, but just watching it today with the idea of, I'm going to be talking about it, it's like, that's so obviously a dolphin. It's ridiculous how obvious. They could have used a lion.
Yeah, but back in 1980, could we have called anyone out and said, that doesn't sound like a gopher?
Well, and there was no internet either, so you couldn't,
Exactly.
You couldn't go on Twitter and go, oh my God, this movie's terrible.
You couldn't troll people out like you can these days. It's just like, that doesn't even sound like a northeastern gopher. That sounds like a southeastern gopher.
Yeah.
How specific people get on their trolling on the internet these days is kind of insane.
Yeah. Hashtag. Not a hashtag. What's our Twitter handle?
Hindsight horror.
Somebody please troll us. I really want to. No, I want to troll. I want someone to go on Twitter and just tell us how bad we are.
You're just saying that because you don't run our Twitter account. You don't have to deal with the abuse directly.
Well, exactly.
Oh, okay.
I tweet about, boring stuff.
He does. He builds model airplanes and stuff. It's really lame.
Yes, I build model airplanes.
But speaking of trolling, Rodney...
Did I tell you about the model airplane I'm working on now? It's
Quiet you.
It's a Supermarine Spitfire. It's the Mark 1 model, not the Mark 2. It's different.
The world's longest... I'm sorry, I'm not committing.
It's good to know when your hobby is, I'm aware. I'm aware.
And yet you're still talking about it.
No.
You're like Bob on Bob's Burgers with Keanu Reeves building the speed bus.
That's exactly
Speed bus!
It. No, bus from speed.
Whatever.
No, I actually say that.
Hey, Keanu. I think you'd look good in a short sleeve tee.
I've actually said that. I'm like, all right, sweetie, I'm going going downstairs to work on my model. Just gonna sit there, put my comfy pants on, and enjoy the thrill.
Cozy pants.
The thrill of the build.
Speed bus. Bus from Speed.
That's it.
Well, you said the wrong comfy pants. All right, I'm going to my class alone. I was a lonely little salsa eater.
I'm taking my pants. I'm doing it for you, Lynn.
Oh, God. But speaking of trolls, Rodney Dangerfield might be the biggest troll of this entire movie on Caddyshack, because he's sitting there having dinner. Awesome. Oh, he's fantastic. Just his insults alone are amazing, where he goes up to the judge's wife, and he's like, oh, you must have been something before electricity, and he's just such an asshole to everyone.
Good looking kid. I see why. What did he say?
I know why the tigers eat their young.
Eat their young.
That was good. And he's tipping some other kid or caddy. He's like, no, why don't you go get yourself a real haircut?
Yeah. Here, play some better music. And you guys, get some more lessons.
Hell, even when he shows up to the country club the very first time, he gets out of his car and this kid goes...
With the random Japanese guy.
Who's taking his photos. Yeah, who's just his photographer for the day.
But that dude, he's literally there and then he's gone.
Yeah, he doesn't make another appearance after that. But Rodney Dangerfield shows up and tips the valet who's taking his car. He's like, for God's sake, kid, lose some weight. Just everybody he runs into, he's going to troll them in some way or shape or form. It's fantastic.
Oh, I can still see the marks where the jockey was beating it.
God.
Dog food! I killed him!
Oh, yeah, because he's insulting the country club food and then the chef flips out.
Oh, and there's the, for some reason, Irish girl.
Yeah, that didn't make a lot of sense either.
I had to look that up.
Her accent slips so much in this movie. It's kind of ridiculous.
It was so perplexing to me. I actually went and looked it up. There is a reason for that. Apparently, either in a scene that was filmed that was cut, or just something that was in the script originally but it never got filmed, it was established that she was an Irish exchange student.
Oh, okay.
But it's not in the movie anywhere, so you just go, why does she have
a random Irish girl?
Yeah, why does she have a bad Irish accent?
Yeah, we're trying to defend you, Ireland. We're not trying to offend you.
Oh, yeah, no.
We want you guys to stay. So we want to know why this fake Irish you-know-what is in this movie.
Hey, have you heard any good stories about Irishmen lately?
Shut up, Jason.
Someone had a run-in with an Irishman.
Oh, God. No, but maybe that feeds back to the whole Catholicism thing. That's why they introduced that.
See, I think it does, and I think that's, if you think about it, because there's the whole, she thinks she's pregnant.
And Danny immediately is going to marry her
because
that's the honorable... Well, despite sleeping with the blonde girl the night before he finds that out.
Yeah, she gets around.
She's basically Marty's mom from Back to the Future.
Yes.
So she calls her boyfriends at their homes. She's that girl.
Yeah. Well, because it's like the whole thing whenever she says, he's like, hey, I'll support you if you decide to keep it or not. And she's like, I've already decided I'm going to keep it. And the look on his face. Okay, I guess I'll marry you.
I guess that's the answer I was looking for. Great.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of the Catholicism, going back to the Murray guys, Bill Murray, according to Mental Floss, was not just the inspiration for Carl, because his brother, Brian Doyle... Brian Doyle Murray, their real life family, it actually includes 9 siblings. We said a lot earlier, but it's 9. And they literally all most of them worked at a country club where Bill Murray used to run a hot dog stand. So that was him before this glorious life that he's leading now.
I've changed my mind. Now I know, because I used to say if I had a time machine, forget going and killing Hitler and stopping World War II.
I want to see I want to get Bill Murray to serve me a damn hot dog.
I want to go to the hot dog stand and I want Bill Murray to serve me a hot dog.
Oh, we get this great moment right here where Chevy Chase walks into the country club and sees the blonde girl, the judge's niece. And of course, they want to hook Ty up with their beautiful niece because he's a respectable guy. But then you get to later in the movie where Ty is anything but.
Yeah, and apparently he's got $70,000 checks laying around his apartment that are not cashed. That
they're just made out. They're props to impress women.
Yeah, I love that whole scene though. Whenever he has the 3 half consumed bottles of Perrier
and then combines them.
Yeah.
And acts like he's pouring a fresh bottle of Perrier. And they move on from the Perrier to shots. And Chevy Chase is not taking his shots. He's literally just throwing them over his shoulder like salt.
And actually, it was funny. The first time I watched this today, I actually had to go back on the Perrier scene. Because I had looked down. And then when I looked up, it was whenever he was like shaking up the bottle, and it looked like he had put pills in her Perrier.
No, he didn't. He literally he just combined the Perrier together. So he never technically drugged her, but he was definitely getting her drunker than he was ever intending to get.
And that's all ad-libbed, you know?
Really?
Yeah, every single thing that Bill Murray did was ad-libbed, 100% of it.
You mean Chevy Chase?
No, the Bill Murray stuff.
Okay, because we're talking about Chevy Chase right now.
Most of what Chevy Chase did was ad-libbed. 100% of Bill Murray's stuff, like the whole Cinderella story thing.
Cinderella story. He's gonna need about a 5-iron.
That was all ad libbed. That was just off the top of his head.
But
like in in that scene when he's on the date, when he's giving her the massage,
he's pouring oil all over her.
Yeah, and apparently while they were filming that, she was actually starting to get a little like either pissed off or just because he was ad-libbing so much. And it's imagine being an actress and you're trying to keep up with Chevy Chase ad-libbing,
especially in a sexual scene. You're gonna get uncomfortable and be like, I'm sorry, was I sold into slavery of some sort? Because
the whole thing with the massage oil, that was ad-libbed when he poured it on her. When she turns around and says, "Are you crazy?" that was actually her turning around and looking at Chevy Chase and saying, "Are you crazy?"
And they just keep rolling.
Yeah, and it worked.
Oh, this poor darling. I never knew all this discomfort went.
Yeah, it went
along with this movie.
Yeah, she did not have a great time with, and she's like, I think I read
she looks like she's in her very early 20s.
And she was like a devout Catholic, and she'd gone to Catholic school and all this stuff, and it's like, hey, welcome to Hollywood.
Yeah, gotta definitely get naked for us.
But I'm not sleeping with that producer again, I tell you that much.
That was an okay Irish accent, I guess. But, yeah,
it should have been a Yorkshire accent, and the 3 of you out there who got that, you know it.
Good on you guys. Yeah. Good job.
I'm not sleeping with that producer again.
Oh, God. Anyway, this movie is so off the wall from every turn. And now we get yet another shot of Bill Murray literally just skeeving on the 60-year-old women on the green. And he's got this Scottish...
the greenskeeper.
Right? Yeah, the gamekeeper or whatever you want to call it. But for all my Harry Potter fans out there.
Yeah, he keeps all the dinosaurs in check so they don't eat the golfers.
Hey, whatever.
Man, that would be awesome.
Hey, there are gophers there, man. It's a gamekeeper, technically.
I would actually give a shit about golf if there were dinosaurs involved. Because I always say, if you're old, you cannot pick up golf if you've never played golf. If you're older than 12 years old, it's too late.
Nope.
You're never going to pick it up. Or if you have an IQ above 96, too high, you're never going to pick it up. So
I actually defy both of those because I picked up golf later in life, and I'm actually a relatively smart person. I don't know about the 96 IQ, but...
When was the last time you played golf?
About a year ago.
Oh, jeez. And you drove here by yourself?
Shut up. I'm not a big fan of golf, but I learned to play so that I could be in a charity tournament for a company that I represented at the time. But we're getting to a really iconic...
the CIA. Just say it.
Shh. What? You're going to blow my cover and get me murdered. You know that? By my own government.
It wouldn't be the first time.
Shut up. The point is that like we're at a really good iconic scene right now with Chevy Chase, and it reminds me of Family Guy because I don't know that Caddyshack might be one of those movies where I had sort of seen it piecemeal for so long that I knew the whole story.
Right. I know exactly what you mean because
I'd never sat down and watched it fully until maybe this one time that we wanted to study it and do it for the podcast.
It's a movie that you've turned the channel and it was on
and you watched it from whatever point. Yeah,
that's exactly what it was.
So right now we're at the iconic, and especially if you turned it on when this moment was about to happen, the where Ty
this is what I remembered.
Oh, I mostly remember the gopher, but I remember this, the and especially since Family Guy makes a joke about it, where Brian the dog is babysitting all the children when Lois and Peter go out of town, and Brian doesn't know what to do with the children, so he starts reading them a novelized version of Caddyshack, and you hear Seth MacFarlane's voice as a dog, and he's like, no, said Ty, sinking yet another ball. Like, and it just, I was like, oh, why? Oh, man, yeah, Caddyshack. Okay,
Do you know where he got that sound from?
Do tell.
The $6 Million Man.
Yeah,
it's the sound whenever the $6 Million Man is running. Really
no,
fast.
that totally, and that takes me to Scrubs automatically.
Yeah,
no, it's no with the $6 Million Man because if you ever watch Scrubs, listeners, you know Ted and his cronies in the hospital have their own sort of a cappella band, and for a while they're doing primetime television, and they're like, we have the technology, we can make him stronger, faster. And Ted looks at his partner, he's like, your could be louder. So there's that.
You know, the funny thing about this movie is it's a golf movie that they cast with, I think Danny is the only one. None of them knew how to play golf. And
I would hope that that's true because that's just hilarious.
I just think that's awesome that none of them knew how to play golf and they're making a golf movie.
Well, I mean, it's Animal House on a golf course. It's sort of like Happy Gilmore. You set the premise up, but this actually has a more believable premise because in Happy Gilmore, you've got a hockey player turned golf player out of nowhere, and he's just great at driving, and that's pretty much his talent. But like with these guys, there's more credibility to the golf story because they're at a country club, so you think that they would all be good golf players,
right? Yeah, I mean, caddies, you would think, although maybe caddies are the sort of people who, by the end of the day, the last thing that they want to do is play golf.
Play friggin' golf.
I don't know.
But I mean, here's the thing:
I'm not a golfist.
A golfist? Is that what you're calling it? But I don't even know.
With my golf bats.
But seriously, Danny, what's his name? The Artuzio guy, whoever, it's this kid who's playing the literal John Travolta from Boogie Nights or Saturday Night Fever.
100%.
Saturday Night Fever is what it is. He's literally just John Travolta with the feathered hair.
And his sexual orientation is completely not in doubt.
Oh, Mr. Cotter, I'm in the girls. Oh my God. It's so obvious. Listeners, I just made Jason laugh harder than I've ever made him laugh.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Oh my God.
Mr. Cotter, I'm in the girls. Oh my God. I'm jumping out a window to watch another girl get laid with this other caddy from my country club.
I promise to touch your penis. No.
Oh God. Yeah, he's got the tight pants and he doesn't even not even the right shoes. It's just when he's walking around on the golf course, it's like, you can tell from the way I use my walk, I'm a woman's man. It's just so John Travolta.
This is a guy that you hope never gains any weight because you know he's going to keep dressing like that.
Oh yeah, he can't gain weight. He's going to be skinnier than his pregnant wife. Like, he's going to be skinnier than his wife even when she's not pregnant.
And here we come, the most iconic.
Which I have a special moment from Mental Floss for this one, because the most iconic scene in the movie, which Bob's Burgers obviously plays on.
Oh, yeah.
Duty! But yeah, apparently the Murray brothers knew how to use a Baby Ruth, because the candy in the cool bar, or in the candy bar in the pool scene was based on an actual prank that the Murray brothers really played in their high school swimming pool.
That's awesome.
And I just respect Bill Murray so much more than I even already did.
I'm telling you, I would quantum leap in and just hang out with Bill Murray.
Well, then I know where he left.
So there's that.
You know where he left.
In this case, yes, I do. Yeah. But yeah, you get... What's really hilarious is that it's a pool scene, and there's a sign on the country club sign, like a taped on sign, where it's like, caddies are welcome for 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's like
from 1 p.m. to 1:15 p.m.
It's so weird, because it's like, okay. And then everyone's surprised when the caddies are there.
Oh, Mr. Cotter, I'm in a Speedo. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that guy is so Italian, and he's got his shit. Oh God, the aviators.
Yeah, his sexual orientation completely not in doubt, folks. He is possibly the most heterosexual man I've ever seen.
Like more so than Chuck Norris, than anyone I've ever met.
Yeah.
Oh, but then you get yet another scene that Family Guy has made fun of, the iconic girl in a black bikini walking down the side of the pool. And
in heels.
In heels, because, ladies, if you're anything like me, you obviously wear your Jimmy Choos to the pool.
Well, that's such a weird thing that they do in movies. You know, they will put heels on women in the most absurd situations.
Hello, have you seen Jurassic World?
Yeah.
Jessica.
Don't take them off.
I cannot remember the leading lady's name right now, and I apologize for
Judy
that.
Greer. It's not Judy Greer,
not
but just say it's not Bryce Dallas Howard.
Oh, sorry, I'm messing her up with Jessica Chastain, because they're both beautiful redheaded actresses. So Jessica Chastain was in Lawless with Tom Hardy. Yeah, they kind of look alike in my head. I'm sorry, but yeah. So Bryce Dallas Howard is wearing white high-heeled shoes while running away from velociraptors and Tyrannosaurus Rex.
My favorite example is, because it's not just in one movie or one episode of a TV show.
Oh no, it's all through Hollywood.
But no. In Star Trek Voyager, when they decide to add Seven of Nine, played by Jerry Ryan.
Sure.
Okay. And they decide, well, what we're going to do is we're going to take her, she was a Borg, and it's going to be like, well, we're going to take all the Borg stuff off, and she'll be human again. But apparently, underneath all the Borg stuff is a super tight, skin-tight, I don't even know what the hell you call it. With heels.
Like bodysuit?
Yeah, like bodysuit.
Okay.
With heels. It's like, it's nice that the Borg had some fashion sense. They.
She wanted to improve her posture.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the lie. It. That's the lie that they tell women about high heels, because it does not improve your posture. No.
I have marveled for years the fact that women can even wear those.
It hurts.
I know. We all, look, as a guy, we are all totally like, look, ladies, thank you for wearing them, because there's no friggin' way you'd get us to.
No. There's a way, because now, like, men, I don't know if it's specifically gay men or whatever, but they're starting to do intense dance numbers in high heels where you could break your limbs doing it.
Stupid.
And I just don't understand that either. I'm like, I could never accomplish that. I'm not Beyonce.
Although the high heel was actually invented for men.
What?
Yeah, no, seriously.
Back that up right now.
Hey, go talk to Bill Bryson in his, that was in At Home by Bill Bryson. Great book. In, I want to say it would have been Georgian England. It wasn't Victoria. It was before Victorian. Yeah, no, high heels. The whole expression, a well-heeled man, that's where it comes from. If you were well-heeled, it's because you could afford a high heel, a nice, sturdy high heel.
Now, are we talking
for the specific purpose of making your calves look better?
Oh, I can see that, because... Yeah. I was about to ask, are we talking like Robert Downey Jr. high heels where he's like in Spice Girl tennis shoes in Iron Man, or no?
No, it's
Apparently this
it's
is an
full
actual
on
high heel.
Yeah, it's full on high heels. They basically wanted to show off their calves and wear pants that were really tight so people could tell if they were Jewish or not. I mean,
Wow.
I don't know if that was the express reason, but you could tell if they were Jewish or not.
I'm just going to cut back to Caddyshack because Bill Murray is
Eating a poo.
No, he's not. He's eating what is it? A baby Ruth out of the bottom of the pool because they drain the pool to get the duty out of the pool. We got to
do that movie, The Goonies.
Oh God, my cousin Wade might want to guest star for that one. That's his movie.
I love The Goonies.
That's his movie.
Yeah.
But
my son hates it.
You got to get rid of that kid. You understand that?
He doesn't actually hate the movie. He hates the Cyndi Lauper song.
Oh, okay. Then he doesn't hate the movie. Yeah. But oh yeah, here we go. So yeah, Bill Murray literally ate that candy bar and made a woman pass out thinking that he was eating crap. Like, I got a court order. You can't eat crap anymore. I modified it a little bit, but
all right, Jerry, I got to admit, when you're right, you're right.
But this is what I would like to think.
Wilson.
No.
Buy Wilson products.
Yes, that was not some active advertising at all.
It's the most unsubtle advertising.
No,
but you know what? That's how you make movies.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. It's no Superman being thrown into the Coke truck. That's the most iconic, most obvious advertising that's ever happened in the history of the ever. But there you go, Jason. There's our moment where we're at Chevy Chase's house, and he's simply pouring a used Perrier into another used Perrier and making it look fresh. He's not popping pills into it. He's just trying to make it look like it's still carbonated.
That makes me feel better because I couldn't like Ty anymore if he had done something like that.
Couldn't get on the Puddin' Pop Bandit level. It's on our website already.
Damn,
come on,
dog.
Don't even trip, dog.
He did it the old-fashioned way though. He just handed her a bottle of tequila and went.
Hey, drink this.
It sure is cute when girls do shots.
Yeah. And I don't.
Girls, stop falling for that.
And he doesn't even crack the top off of it. He barely pops the lid, and he's just like, oh no, look, it just sort of jumped right off.
This is actually my favorite Chevy Chase moment is earlier, right before this it's in this scene, when she makes a comment about the swords, and he says, oh, no, I bought those in Vietnam. And she says, oh, were you in the war? No. And then he pats his hip. He goes, homo.
Wow.
But I'm better now.
Oh, God. And there he goes. He's teaching her how to do tequila shots with lemons.
Yeah, and it's very subtle when he does the whole bit where he snorts the salt and then he throws the tequila
over his left shoulder.
He then immediately zips his fly up. It's very quick.
I didn't even notice that when I was actively watching. Oh, yeah, he's naked and he just went down the pool slide.
So you're naked Chevy Chase.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to see that?
And then he put clothes back on for this scene.
In the real nude scene where you're naked and apparently kind of violating a Catholic girl when she didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah. This was a long time ago.
In a Hollywood far away.
This was a movie made many, many years ago.
It was back before the Me Too movement.
It is amazing to think, I was an infant when they were shooting this movie.
Well, oh wow, there was a time when you were an infant?
Believe it or not.
I'm amazed.
Yeah, it lasted 8 weeks, and then I immediately became a grumpy old person.
Yeah, that's how it happens to the best of us.
It made junior high kind of awkward.
Ew. Glossing right over that. You may not even remember this since you were so teeny tiny when this movie came out, Jason. Did you know that the theme song could have been completely different?
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, they actually wanted Pink Floyd to do the theme song for this movie, and
oddly enough, they couldn't get them.
They couldn't get Pink Floyd, but they sure got K-Log.
I know, man. They got them some K-Log.
They didn't go into the danger zone, but they're all right.
What was the name? This is going to drive me nuts because now I'm thinking about it. In the episode of Archer with Kenny Loggins, remember the big dude?
Yeah.
and he would say his name, and because he was beating up Pam.
Yeah.
Pam. What the hell was his name?
He wasn't like Hodor or something.
It was no, it wasn't Hodor, but Bob Dorr. Bob Dorr.
No.
Bob Dorr,
I'm
third
just
wheel.
saying I don't remember him having a specific name.
Yeah, because K-Log would say, K-Log, Jesus.
Oh, bad touch, so-and-so, bad touch.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I'll come to that in a minute. I'll look it up for you, because that's
K-Log.
K-Log.
But who's the guy with who's the beardy guy? What?
Oh, yeah, Lana had no idea who K-Log was, and that's just... And meanwhile, Sherilyn is like, do you know this chord? And he's like, of course I know
That's
this chord.
That's a chord.
I know all the chords. I know all the chords. I'm a musician. Are you? So mean.
And it's so weird because Kenny Loggins, I have a very Kenny Loggins, all I'll say is that his music occupies a very strange place in my memory because the first, God, I can't. Hang on, let me finish my beer, then I'll tell this.
Ricky.
Bad
touch, Ricky. Bad touch.
Yeah, the first time I ever saw a boob, like up close.
I'm leaving. I'll talk to you guys later.
No. It was the.
I'm out.
No. This is the weirdest thing. Okay, so a girl that I'm going out with, she breaks up with me at dinner,
as she should have, apparently.
and then afterwards decides that she's having second thoughts. Because, I mean, honestly...
If you guys haven't seen a picture of Jason, look at this smoke show. He just belched into the microphone. So
oh, God.
That.
No, hang on. I got a little bit on it. Okay, no, it's good now.
Ew.
I
got... Gaga.
I'm like Teddy. Whenever I was younger.
Why is Teddy your freaking role model?
Because when I was younger, I was, No, but K-Log, we ended up parking somewhere. This is the weirdest thing...
You parked with K-Log?
I wish.
So he's parked in a car with this girl listening to K-Log.
No, that's
imagine.
What's weird about it.
Oh,
we
Jesus.
weren't listening to Kenny Loggins. As soon as we start fooling around, she specifically stops, specifically goes to her CD case.
Do I want to know?
And not only picks out a Kenny Loggins CD, but the CD that she picks out is Welcome to Pooh Corner by Kenny Loggins.
Oh, Jesus. You know who you are.
Yeah, seriously, if you're listening,
You.
what the hell?
Shame. I don't have a bell to ring, but shame. Shame.
And the funniest thing was, I didn't realize that's what the CD was until about 2 minutes into it, and I heard, something about Christopher Robin, and I'm thinking, wait, what?
Totally different impression than one you would have expected.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Deal with that, audience.
So I'm scarred for life, and I hope the rest of you can help me blast Jason on Twitter for this. So if that hasn't punished you enough, I don't know what will. So anyway, Caddyshack. Yeah, I don't know, it's kind of a movie that, and I'm not trying to insult it, but you can kind of talk through it because there are so many random bits.
I actually hate this scene.
Okay, so to give you some exposition, listeners, we're at the yacht club where Danny the caddy is trying desperately to fit in with the country club lot, and they've just christened a boat of the judges, and meanwhile Rodney Dangerfield takes his huge ass boat and wrecks the entire yacht club.
Yeah, it doesn't
really fit. It felt kind of shoehorned.
It's very shoehorned in there,
Yeah.
and all the jokes here are really bad. With like, oh, he's running through the... All the jokes here are things that I complain about in an Adam Sandler movie.
Okay, like the random musical and the stuff that just
where it's like,
didn't help the plot.
The people are falling off the jet skis. How funny is that? Ha ha ha.
And yeah, it doesn't move anything along.
No,
so
it doesn't.
There's that, but
but hearing what you said before though about the fact that the gopher was added afterwards to thread everything together, it actually makes sense. Like they just went and filmed a bunch of stuff.
No, it is that because
you can see that.
It's a very because I know we talked about this on Night Court and we mentioned a little bit of Rick and Morty, sort of Morty's mind blower sort of a thing where it's like, okay, name a situation, name an occupation, and it's still Rick and Morty, but like, okay, Rick and Morty are like Star-Lords, and they're battling for the rebellion, and they're on a space station. Run with it.
Right.
Like,
Right.
that's what a lot of this movie feels like to me, where it's like, okay, Rodney Dangerfield on a speedboat. What would happen?
Yeah.
Bad things. That's what happens.
Yeah, and it's sort of like, of course he's going to do all this stuff and wreck all these things, and okay. And I think that's sort of the movie is strong when the characters are delivering dialogue, because every one of the actors in it, Bill Murray, Chevy Chase, Rodney Dangerfield, they're all very talented people who can come up with funny things on the fly that you don't expect.
Yeah.
As soon as you see Rodney Dangerfield take over steering the boat, you know what's going to happen, and it's not funny. Because he's going to run into everything.
That's what he does. Right?
Yeah.
That's just how he's written, unfortunately. Because his stand-up is totally different than this kind of humor. He's
dirty as hell.
Oh, God. It makes Bob Saget blush.
Yeah,
It's kind of ridiculous.
Oh, Bob Saget's come on. Everybody talks about him being dirty. Have you ever... Yeah, Lenny Bruce?
Yeah, Lenny Bruce is pretty nasty, especially considering his time.
Yeah.
And if you want just a mild taste of that, you can always watch The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, but they don't really get into his dirty humor.
Oh, is he? I haven't seen that. Lenny Bruce is on it? Is he a character?
Yeah, Lenny Bruce is a character because when Joan Rivers was coming up,
cool.
It was about the same timeline.
Yeah.
Because that's what that movie, or that show is about, actually, is...
Yeah, it's Joan
brilliant.
Rivers. Yeah, it's
basically Joan Rivers cutting her teeth as a comedian, and the whole thing is that she sort of makes friends on accident with Lenny Bruce, and it works out really well because she sort of stumbles into comedy. And I know I've said this before, but Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is what Gilmore Girls could have been if it had the proper backup, because Gilmore Girls had the whole typical studio and producers and all this other nonsense they had to deal with. Yeah. And even the references in Gilmore Girls... It was still
a good show, though.
No, Gilmore Girls... it's one of my most favorite shows. But...
As a dude, I can say that, and I have no qualms about it.
He's a Gilmore dude. That's
well, look,
what he is.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I had the biggest crush
on Lauren.
Graham.
Yeah.
I could watch that show just to see
for her.
Yeah.
Well, she's the reason to watch it. I mean, Rory has the
and
emotional depth of a teaspoon. What?
And Ed Herman.
Ed Herman was great, and Emily Bishop is fantastic.
Is that the mom?
The grandma. Yeah.
The
grandma.
Yeah.
She's
good.
She's fantastic. But no, but Mrs. Maisel is what Gilmore Girls could have been without the network stand-ups and just all this nonsense and pushback and whatever, and timing with competing with friends on the same channel and whatever.
See,
but Mrs. Maisel, but even down to the references in Gilmore Girls, because they'll say something about Finn, this Australian guy on Gilmore Girls, is like, who's as drunk as I am? And his friend goes, nobody, since Spencer Tracy died. And that reference doesn't belong on that show.
That's good, though.
But it's a fantastic joke. Yeah, but it doesn't belong in the early 2000s. It belongs in a show that's in the 50s, like Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And so, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, I think it has one of my all-time favorite actors, Tony Shalhoub.
Yes, he's Mrs. Maisel's dad.
Okay, Tony Shalhoub is...
Monk, yes.
Monk. And Antonio from Wings.
What's the guy's actual name?
Antonio. On Wings. The old NBC sitcom, about the airport in Nantucket.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Oh, man, with Tim Daly and... Oh, Wings. I love...
Needless to say, everybody on that show is very talented, but we're at another very iconic moment. Cinderella story.
This is not the Cinderella story, but my favorite sequence in the entire movie.
Stuff's coming down for quite a while.
He's what, Lutheran? The Lutheran minister playing golf.
Yes, and he wants to play golf.
Is the best sequence ever.
Because he wants to play golf when it's about to storm severely.
Rat fart.
Yeah, his cursing leaves something to be desired.
And I love the fact that they're playing the music from Ten Commandments, and that guy was in the Ten Commandments.
Oh man.
Yeah, he was actually in the Ten Commandments.
Inception level stuff right there. Yeah. I didn't know that. And that's perfect, but it's kind of a Rick and Morty sort of a thing right now, too, because he's literally having the best game of his life.
Yes.
Kind of like Jerry when he's stuck in a simulation that he shouldn't even be in.
Yes.
Like in M. Night Shyamalanians or Aliens or whatever.
You can pronounce it correctly, please. It's Shamalama Ding Dong.
Shut up. The point is that he's having the best game of his entire life. And it's pouring down rain, and he looks at Bill Murray like, should we keep going? And Bill Murray's like, oh, I don't think the hard stuff coming down for quite a while.
I just love whenever he gets struck by lightning and Bill Murray just sort of puts the bag down and leaves.
Yeah, he just it's almost like he literally got shot in front of Bill Murray, and Bill Murray's like, I had nothing to do with this. Peace out, and he just leaves. So
you got this covered then.
And I swear to God, Carl Spagler, Bill Murray's character, it's like Forrest Gump on a golf course. It's just, he's got the same sort of outfit.
But I would much rather see Spagler, the movie, than Forrest Gump. I would watch
Whoa.
2.5 hours.
Whoa.
I like Forrest Gump. I'm not knocking Forrest Gump. I'm just saying I'd rather see... I would watch 2.5 hours of Carl Spagler.
Sometimes there just aren't enough gophers.
Yeah, because if if Carl Spagler was in the strip club with Jenny, he would have been putting dollar bills down the G Street.
He wouldn't have beaten up all those guys in the front row.
Jenny, you've got real nice boobies.
He would have been a lot more straightforward. I know what real stripping is, Jenny, and Joan Baez songs are not it.
You need to get a pole, Jenny.
Now we have to do Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump invents the pole dance.
He invented everything.
It's like Forrest Gump with a goatee. It's like evil Forrest Gump.
Evil Forrest Gump. Okay,
Have you thought about mailing anthrax?
No. That might be the screenplay that Jason and I write together, listeners. With your help, we can jumpstart this project into a real-life Netflix special.
He meets somebody and makes him the Unabomber.
Oh, no. Yeah, the dark version of Forrest Gump.
The dark Forrest Gump.
That's perfect.
Yes, we're gonna make $1 million.
Sometimes there's just not enough cyanide.
Maybe you should tell everyone there's weapons of mass destruction.
Sometimes you just feel like bombing.
He meets George W. Bush.
Oh no.
It's gonna be the next big thing.
Like indoor plumbing, it's gonna be big. Oh god.
For those of you in Arkansas, that's the thing where the water is actually coming out of pipes in your house.
Yeah, watch Disney's Hercules. You'll know what we're talking about. That was actually a shout out to that episode. Hey Meg. But yeah, now the Irish girl in Caddyshack.
Oh no, I'm totally pregnant.
And then this is where she loses her Irish accent big time. Is in the dramatic scenes.
She just drops it completely.
Just abandons it. Like, oh geez, Danny, like seriously? And it's like, oh then fine, I'm gonna go serve the dinner rush myself. And then
Don't you know I'm pregnant? You son of a bitch.
No, it's not good.
Seeing Brian Doyle Murray is smoking a cigarette here. The other guy, the John Travolta guy, and I don't know if this is true, but I read it somewhere, that he actually didn't smoke until he made this movie, and this character's smoking the whole time.
Well, Brian Doyle Murphy, what most people don't know, that's the boss from Christmas Vacation.
Oh, yeah.
I put that together. I was like, his face is so young in this 1980s movie, where I was like, I know who that is.
Oh yeah, he's been in a bunch of stuff.
No, I know he has, but like one of my particularly 90s childhood, I was like, oh my god, he was in Christmas Vacation.
No, Brian Doyle Murray has been in. He's the other Murray brother, and he's been in a bunch of stuff. He's played a ton of character actors. I think
he hasn't aged nearly as well as Bill Murray has.
I hate to say that I had the same thought.
No, it's very obvious if you watch Christmas Vacation.
He's so skinny in this movie.
Not so in later years, listeners.
Yeah.
Just Google it.
But, I mean, look, did Chevy Chase age that well?
He didn't age great, but he still, you can see him these days, and you're like, oh, that's Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
And he has the same sort of face, where Brian Doyle Murray,
I just had a thought. Maybe we should Google, is Brian Doyle Murray, he is alive, right?
I haven't heard about his passing, but that doesn't mean...
I believe that he is alive.
Because you quasi-surprised me with Leslie Nielsen's passing, despite the fact that in the back of my head, I knew that Leslie Nielsen had passed.
That was a dark day.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, so is there a whole lot more to say about this movie?
Well, I mean, you've not... Look, there is...
He's alive, Brian Doyle Murray.
He is
as far
alive.
as I can tell.
Okay. Yeah. Hang on. Let me see if she can bring him over here.
It's up to you. I mean, I'm going to go to the restroom and you can sort that out.
Alexa, drop in the garage. Hey, can you guys hear me? David? Elaine, is there any way you can just drop David off at my office? I need like maybe 15 minutes. Okay, perfect. Yeah, it doesn't matter what he's wearing. Just drop him off, and I literally need like 15 minutes. Okay, thank you, sweetie. All right, love you. Alexa, hang up. She's going to bring him over here.
Oh, yeah?
This is a very short movie.
It was longer than I remembered it being, though. Inexplicably.
I felt like it was shorter. Because, I mean, I'm looking at it, it's like, wait, we're already up to the scene with the... Because this is the scene where they do the challenge.
Yeah.
And then the next bit is the...
But there was so much other stuff, like, shoehorned in, like we were talking about with the boat scene, and...
Well, here, let's use it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Brian Doyle Murray is still alive.
And you said there's not much left of this movie.
So we can cut that out, honestly.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting not to derail anything again, but it's surprising. Yeah, I know.
We don't do that.
It's surprising that there's not as much movie here. It's a very short movie as far as I remember. But you were saying that you felt the exact opposite.
No, completely, because as a kid, I do remember the gopher. I remember that being the main plot point. And I honestly thought it was a movie about the gopher, despite the fact that research told me differently. But no, I didn't remember the shoehorn part of the yacht club. I don't remember this challenge part with the pool hall. I don't remember any of that.
I remember the challenge. I will admit the yacht part. I didn't remember it. Where it was like, oh, there's a yacht thing in this?
Well, because to my mind, I think I did, cut my heels on the whole TV edited version.
I think so.
And that's why it felt like a shorter movie, because they took out probably extraneous stuff, like the yacht club thing, and they took out anything overly dirty, and they took out, anything that basically didn't fit their time slot.
Yeah, I mean, the movie's 98 minutes long, so what they probably did was cut it to a little under 90 minutes. Like an hour and a half. So that would have...
Well, a little less than an hour and a half because they still had to fit in commercials.
Yeah, so it probably would have been about an hour and 15 minutes. So that's what, 75 minutes? I can't do math. Is that like 20?
We've established that you can't do math, and so I'm not doing math for you. You don't deserve Darth Jader's math.
Over 0. Wait, no, you can't.
Carry the 7. 0. Yes, that's correct. But no, but we've gotten to the point where we find out that the non-Irish girl, the would-be Irish girl, is not pregnant.
That was resolved quickly.
And oddly, because she's in a white gown in the middle of the night, literally like ballet leaping along the green.
I got my period.
And basically. And that was a little more Scottish than Irish.
Oh, got my wee little bleeding.
We're like onions, donkey. We're like onions. But she just leaps into Danny's arms, who, I don't know if I wasn't paying attention, but he's inexplicably out there at the same time.
Yeah, it doesn't... Well, I saw somewhere that apparently the first cut of this movie, when the editor sat down and just did his first cut, which is to be presented to the director...
It was something like 4 hours long.
It was 4.5 hours long.
And they had to cut down from that. And there's still a lot of inexplicably just shoehorn material in the movie regardless. So I kind of believe your theory about them being hammered every night. Because if you're if you're sort of hungover during the day, you're like, oh, this is so funny. Let's film whatever the hell random thing we decided to film today.
Yeah, and it's like all the stuff about because... When the idea behind the movie didn't involve Bill Murray and Chevy Chase being quite as big, especially Bill Murray. He wasn't supposed to be as much of a character as possible.
No, yeah, they built him in a little bit more.
But when they did that, they had to unwrite other characters.
Oh.
And I think when they did that, they unwrote some actual story,
plot moving characters. Yeah.
So it ends up being it's a movie that really... It's best to think of it as just sort of a series of funny scenes with a loose thread going through it.
Kind of like, and Bill Murray in a sort of Disney way, he's a Cinderella boy. He came along and, he
says it like 12 times.
He does. All the other girls at the dance thought that they were going to be the star of the movie, but then the Cinderella boy comes along and he just steals the show. So that, and another thing I discovered is that Chevy Chase and Bill Murray were never actually supposed to interact in this movie as characters.
Yeah, they didn't. They had some issues, didn't they? Like,
no, it's not that they didn't. It's not that they had issues.
I thought they had kind of a feud from the Saturday Night Live days.
I don't know anything about that. It's just that the original script didn't actually include a scene where Carl and Ty ever met each other. Yeah. They never interacted. So there was like a note from the studio where Chevy Chase and Bill Murray and Ramis brainstormed an outline of a scene over lunch. Like in real life, they had lunch together and then improvised a scene where just the cameras rolled. So that's where you get that random ass scene,
and it is so random.
Ty and it's also shoehorned into the movie where Ty hits his ball into Bill Murray's kind of shack where he lives on the greens.
I mean, it's motivated in as much as Ty. Because now he's doing it for money, like now he's actually working
at his craft.
And he's not very good, and he keeps making mistakes, and so he hits a ball into Carl's shack. But then from there on, it's just, Now, I mean, to be fair, if you were a director and you had Bill Murray and Chevy Chase, you'd probably be pretty tempted just to say, turn the camera on, you guys.
See what happens.
See what happens.
See what we get.
Unlike Paul Feig in the damn Ghostbusters movie.
You're never going to get over this, are you?
Because you didn't have Bill Murray.
Well, that was one thing that we discussed in that particular episode is that, certain actors have chemistry.
Right. Yeah.
No, I don't care how talented any actor is in the world. It's kind of like what we talked about with our Ants episode. I would never, ever put Sylvester Stallone and Jennifer Lopez in a room together. Or,
No, you got to hand them a very well-written script.
Yeah, those two, what are they going to have to talk about?
Yeah.
It just, it's
Woody Allen, Yes.
Woody Allen can talk to almost anybody, but can anybody just talk to Woody Allen? That's my question.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I don't see him having the same sort of chemistry, or I don't see actors having chemistry with him.
Yeah.
That's why people still laud Diane Keaton along with Woody Allen, because those two had chemistry like nobody can even believe. But it's not the same thing as it used to be back in the 80s, where you can shove Chevy Chase and Bill Murray in a room and actually get a scene out of it.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, too, because as much as, you know, and again, you know, look, yeah, I'm going to sound like an old person when I say this, but when you watch Bill Murray or Chevy Chase riffing off the top of their heads, there's still subtlety to it. You know, the Cinderella story, that's not something Adam Sandler would do. It's not something Jimmy Fallon would do. They would do something way over the top.
It's Will Ferrell syndrome. And I know that it's not even Will Ferrell who came up with it, but that's why, and I think I've discussed this on a previous episode, where I was so affronted when they put Will Ferrell on the damned Office.
Yeah.
Because that show is too subtle for his talents. It just is.
And the thing is, with Will Ferrell, is I actually have always gotten the impression that Will Ferrell could have been, you know, but it was sort of like, you know, look, hey, if you do all this silly over-the-top crap, we give you money. So what the hell's he going to do? That's what I would do.
It's the Saturday Night Live route these days, or in the last 20-ish years, unfortunately.
Which is probably how long it's been since I've watched Saturday Night Live.
If you behave like a total ass, you're going to make it on Saturday Night Live, and that's how it works. But if you look at Will Ferrell's audition tape, I will say this in favor of Will Ferrell, which my friends are going to be amazed because I don't often do that. But his audition tape is brilliant if you've never seen it.
I've never seen it, but I think he's actually got talent.
No, he does. His audition tape, if you haven't seen it, I'm actually going to put it in the description of this episode because it's so great. He's actually pretending to be a person who acts like a cat playing with toys when he's at social engagements, and his friends are like, hey, Allison, what's with Steve over there in the corner? And they're like, oh, no, that's just something that Steve does. Don't worry about it. It's so genius. And it's not subtle, but it's more mellow than his usual brand of comedy that we've become accustomed to.
No, you're absolutely right. I've always felt like Will Ferrell could have been the heir to Phil Hartman. And I know that's
that's a huge compliment coming from you.
It is. And let me be very clear. Will Ferrell is not the heir to Phil Hartman.
No, not at all.
But he could have been
if he had been given the right opportunities.
But to be fair to Will Ferrell, people weren't looking for Phil Hartman anymore. You know.
Yeah, and that's the kind of audience we're dealing with these days, though.
Yeah, that's the problem.
You know, people who don't listen to us won't know, so we're already speaking to our own audience. Brilliant Australians and the 50 or so of you who listen to us in the greater Atlanta area.
And all the Misties out there.
All the what?
The Misties.
The Misties?
The people who recognize that Mystery Science Theater 3000 is the greatest television show ever made.
Yes, okay. Sorry.
Joel Hodgson, follow us, please. Jonah Ray, come on.
Danny Glover, #petition for Tombstone or whatever it was.
Wait, Tombstone?
Tombstone petition. Remember, we wanted Danny Glover Tombstone petition.
Sorry, I was like, wait, was he in Tombstone?
No, he wasn't. He's not your Huckleberry. But yeah, so we've gotten to the tournament portion, and I kind of maintain that Rodney Dangerfield was subtly, if not really purposefully, supporting the LGBTQ community in this movie because he shows up to the country club in a rainbow jacket and then everything he's wearing is almost rainbow colored. It's kind of awesome.
Well, and I think you can make a case that his character is gay because he makes a statement. God, I have to go back. When he's at the dinner table, he's talking about after his wife died. And he's like, you know, if I keep working like this, I'm going to have a $60 million funeral. You know, and I had a similar thought looking at his wardrobe, and he makes a couple, because he always talks about the women like they're ugly.
Okay.
Like he always slams on them, you know, and then he goes up to the men and he's like, put some weight on, you know.
Oh, wow.
And it's kind of like, is did his wife die? And he's like, what am I doing? I've been living like this my whole life.
Is Rocco looking for his next heifer?
I mean...
Is SpongeBob looking for his next Patrick? Who knows?
I think we've officially created a fan theory.
We've thrown it back, listeners. So if you're not going to tweet at us for any other reason, which you obviously aren't, go ahead and tweet at us about this.
Meg does. Hey, Meg.
Yeah, we love you, Meg, and we love you, Katie. Katie, thank you for building our fan base like a boss.
Yeah.
Let's just throw that out to
and
you
actually,
right now.
we should probably mention that if you enjoyed the Mummy episode
with Katie,
we're going to be recording the next episode we're recording.
Yes, Clueless, 90s Clueless with Alicia Silverstone.
Yes.
So,
and a little special bonus. There'll be pictures.
We may have built an Instagram account.
Yes.
Maybe. We might be inclined to tell you about it if you followed any of our other social media listeners, but you clearly don't. So,
well, and once again, I realized as I spoke with some people who love our show, and I said, would you please follow us on Twitter? And every single one of them said, I don't have a Twitter
Nobody has
account.
Twitter anymore, and that's apparently
okay.
We're just old, and we don't know how to market anymore. Do people still believe in email? Because apparently that's not a thing either.
No, that's an old person thing.
Oh, okay.
In fact, somebody told me the other day that a desktop computer, apparently the millennials refer to that as a grandpa box.
Oh, God.
Yep.
Then I'm a grandma, technically.
Yep. Apparently that's a grandpa box.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. How's that feel? You use it at work.
I use it at home and at work.
No. Millennials use it at work because they have to, and that's it.
You know what, millennials? I'm sick of this. Get on our level.
Yeah, I always think back to the very wise and sensitive statement that Bart Simpson made about young people, that we need another Vietnam to thin out their ranks a little bit.
Oh, God.
I didn't say it. Matt Groening came up with that.
I was actually about to relate to you because on The Office, Dwight was like, there are too many people. We need a new plague. So,
yeah, I mean, Yeah.
Well, we don't have the draft anymore, so Vietnam is not guaranteed to knock out some of
we
these
could whip it
kids.
back up again.
Oh, could we?
Oh, come on. Congress could put that back in 10 seconds.
Oh, God.
I'm 40. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, you're kind of over the draft age.
The Army doesn't want me.
Probably not with your...
Yeah.
You wear glasses and...
I wear glasses. I'm old. I have a wooden leg, as far as the Army knows.
He's a pirate.
Yeah.
So Caddyshack, being one of those movies that we can kind of talk through, like we talk through every other program and movie we've ever talked about.
But to be fair with this one, there's just not that much to talk about.
No, at the end of the day, there's really not. That's not to insult the movie, because I remember this movie. It was an iconic movie. It's just... I don't remember it for all of the things that are happening right now. Like, there's this... The Caddies are sort of rooting for Danny, and there's that subplot.
They're betting on whether the judge's grandkid is going to pick his nose.
Yeah, like, all these subtle little things that are happening. I don't remember any of this. I remember the gopher.
What you remember are the jokes, and the jokes don't have anything to do with the story.
But see, this might be the first movie that we've ever watched that actually defies what we've been talking about this whole podcast, in the sense that, okay, I was allowed to watch this movie as a kid. That being said, the dirtiest parts were probably edited out for television.
Probably so.
However, I guess then maybe it doesn't defy the spectrum, because it does follow the whole idea that it was quote unquote subtle enough or distracting enough where I just remember what was funny about it.
Well,
I don't actually. No, it is the opposite, because for most things with Rocco, with SpongeBob, I remembered the stories as a kid, not necessarily the humor. But now as an adult, I'm like, oh God, there's so much dirty humor. I can't even deal with it.
I think that if you took the nudity out, because if you step back and take a look at it, the language isn't coarse.
Not super. So,
it's really not. They don't. I mean, if you compare, American Pie didn't have a lot of nudity in it. I don't know if it had any nudity in it.
Oh, it had nudity.
Did it? I watched that once, vomited, and then never went back.
I think there was whipped cream involved, but I think there was nudity to a certain level, if memory serves.
But the thing is, American Pie was filthy because of the dialogue. because of what they were saying and
that and the fact that a kid literally had relations
Yeah.
with a pie.
yeah. But I guess what I'm saying is that, like, with Caddyshack, yes, it's got the dirty stuff that is dirty stuff that really happens in real life, which is you've got a bunch of horny teenagers who are working as caddies, and they're sleeping around, and one of the caddies is sleeping with one girl, and then he sleeps with another girl. Well, that's what horny teenagers do. They're smoking weed. They're getting laid. They're getting drunk. They're not doing anything that's actually like, well, people, that's really obscene. They're just doing this sort of like normal obscene stuff. That's like,
but it's actually being shown as regular behavior.
Yeah, they're just showing it. It's like, yeah, this is what kids are like.
Whereas there's
it's an honest kind of dirty,
It is, but there were also subtle things going on because according to Ramis, Caddyshack actually functions as a Marx Brothers film.
Huh.
Oh yes. Because Dangerfield is Groucho, Murray is Harpo, and Chevy Chase is Chico.
That makes sense because Bill Murray's character was... I did hear that he was supposed to originally be completely silent.
Really?
And that would be like Harpo.
Yeah, that would make sense because I got that from Mental Floss, but it would make sense in the first cut of things before they introduced the gopher.
Yeah.
So I don't really know because they kind of had to cut the gopher into everything afterwards.
Yeah.
The dolphin gopher, if you will.
Huh.
But yeah, it just sort of worked out that way. But it's got its subtle moments, but.
Actually, I do like in this last sequence where Bill Murray is blowing everything up, and it's the cliffhanging moment where the golf ball is just on the edge of going in, and our hero is so close to winning. What I like, and I don't know why I like this, is the fact that Brian Doyle Murray keeps staring at the golf ball.
Knowing it's going to go.
He's doing it legitimately. He's gonna, as the referee, he's going to stare at the golf ball.
Because he has to.
Until the explosions stop.
He almost has to. And the finale was an actual caper. Apparently, the final scene featured real explosions on a fake green that was built at Rolling Hills Country Club in Davie, Florida, where the film was shot. And initially, production was not about to let them use real explosives, but the filmmakers
surprise.
But no, the filmmakers took the club's unsuspecting owners out to lunch so they could blow up the green anyway.
Really?
Yes.
They took them out to lunch?
Yes,
and then they
to
blew it up
distract
while
them
they were
from
gone?
it. Oh, yeah. So
you don't get that these days.
No.
You don't.
You'd get sued these days.
Well, yeah.
And look at all those craters. Like, you would get so sued these days for that kind of nonsense. And
But, Your Honor, all they did was blow up some country clubs in Florida. They got like thousands of them.
They do. And gators are eating dogs on those greens. So are they really that great for people?
No, that is true. My in-laws live in Florida.
No, I know. My dad used to run the Recreation and Parks Department down in Jekyll Island. And
oh, my God.
We were visiting down there once, and I saw signs near the water, wherever the water sort of interfered with the green. I was like, Daddy, why are there signs about like no dogs? Are dogs just loud on the golf course, or do they mess on the golf course? He was like, they do that. He was like, that's true, but actually they can't be near the water. And I was like, why, Daddy? And he goes, oh, the alligators will grab them and eat them.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
Yeah.
I lost it as a
Will
little
the dogs
kid.
get poo everywhere? Well, poo a little, but mainly blood.
Yeah.
And bits of fur.
He was like, because, sweetheart, the gators will actually grab your dog by the head and drag it into the water. And I was like,
yes.
What is wrong with you?
Yes.
So, yeah, that's the thing that happens.
And I can say that because my in-laws live in Florida on a golf course, in a golf community.
Yes.
And the recreation I have when I go there is go on the golf cart and go look at the alligators on the golf course. And they just sit there.
They're just hanging out.
Yeah, you just see golfers just hanging out, just, playing golf. And there's an alligator just right over there,
You just sort of learn to interact with this ancient dinosaur level
death
kind
machine.
of this thing that, and they kill you so much. They kill you so much less subtly than sharks do.
Oh yeah, that's that.
Sharks just have the decency to bite you to death.
Yeah.
Whereas alligators and crocodiles, they actually just drag you into the water and twist around until they drown you and rip you apart.
Yeah, I would say if I had a choice between a shark and a crocodile, I would definitely go with the shark.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll close on this note, listeners. I was once asked. No. I've got a story to close on. I was once asked in a restaurant interview back when I was a bartender. And my young age is.
What?
Oh, you'll see. It takes a turn. I was once asked in an interview before I became a waitress and a bartender at a restaurant in Kennesaw whether I would rather be a zebra or a camel. And immediately I answered, oh, camel, 100%. And the manager in question was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Obviously a camel. And I know where you're going with this.
I said, well, the zebra leads a very stressed out life.
Yeah.
The grass is not always available where he is. He's got to go roaming around for grass to get something to eat. Mm-hmm. That being said, during his travels, he's got to cross rivers where the crocodiles are waiting to eat him. He's also being pursued by lionesses across the Serengeti or wherever the zebra lives. And he's being hunted down pretty much no matter what he does, whereas the camel has one enemy and one enemy only, the sand spider.
Yeah, that's about it.
He doesn't really have to worry about drink. He doesn't really have to worry about food that much. He's a very resilient animal, the camel.
There's nothing that hunts a camel.
Except the sand spider.
Yeah.
So there's that, and that's the one thing he has to worry about as opposed to...
But I mean, spiders, we have to worry about spiders.
Yeah, we do.
I mean,
so,
you know.
The camel doesn't have a whole lot of natural enemies to worry about. So,
Did you get the job?
100... What?
Did you get the job?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so there you go. So, that is a Hindsight is Horrible top tip.
Horrifying. Not horrible.
I always do that.
I can't get our email right. You can't get our name right. We're a mess. No wonder people aren't emailing us. They don't know where to find us.
We're professionals.
He's the Cinderella boy.
Anyway. Oh, you know what? Actually, and I'm going to
give a shout out.
Yeah, but before I do the shout out, I will say that is a top tip if you are ever having a job interview and you are asked zebra or camel. You must answer camel, and that's why. And that's why you listen to this show. You are smarter now.
You're a camel. You're not a zebra.
And on that note, why don't you give a shout-out to the manufacturer of this fantastic
beverage we've been enjoying from Variant Brewing in Roswell, Georgia. My friends, the Curlings, run it. It's fantastic. It's a local brewery right next to Roswell City Hall in downtown Roswell. And we've
Georgia, not New Mexico.
I literally just said that about 2 seconds ago.
I know,
okay.
but I have to stress that.
Yeah.
If you go to Roswell, New Mexico, looking for Variant Brewing,
you're going to be confused and angry with us.
Yes, you will get a probing, and they will send you right home.
And then they'll send you to Variant, where
and then you'll need to go to Variant.
You'll need to go there for sure. You'll need the beverages there. But yeah, we enjoy a beverage there pretty much every recording that we have. And we actually learned that we've got some of you local listeners out there visiting the brewery.
Yes.
So please continue doing what you're doing, you wonderful locals, and telling your bartenders and the Variant owners that Hindsight is Horrifying sent you there.
And actually, if you go in, this is for a limited time only, if you go in and you say that the reason you went there is because you heard about Variant Brewing on Hindsight is Horrifying, they will say, thank you.
Yes, they will, but only for a brief period of time.
Yes.
So if you want that politeness, you better earn it. Go and tell them that you were listening to us. In the meantime, you can find us at hindsightishorrifying.com. You can yell at Jason or myself at our email addresses, darthjader at hindsightishorrifying.com or jason at hindsightishorrifying.com. You can reach me at Darth_Jader_ on Twitter, or you can actually reach our Hindsight is Horrifying Twitter at Hindsight Horror.
Or you can listen to you can see my tweets about model making at North Foggy.
If you want to be that much of a nerd and follow Jason's airplane models, that's your own business.
I'm bringing in the Corsair. I'm putting a shelf up in the studio with my models, and so I'm gonna put Instagram pictures.
Nerd.
Yeah.
See, we now have to do Revenge of the Nerds because of you. Ew. Stop it. Anyway, you know where to reach us. We're desperate to hear from you, obviously. We're a needy chick, listener, so get in touch with us. That being said, thanks for listening to our very off-the-rails episode of Caddyshack. And Jason, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, just as usual, thank you very much for spending your daytime, nighttime, or drive time, or whatever the case may be with us. And we will see you next time. Thank you very much, and good evening.
Laters.